Welcome back, everyone, to Roll the Dice with Dave. It's been over a year since my last episode, and I'm so excited to be back on the mic with all of you. Thank you for joining either on Facebook Live or YouTube. And remember, this isn't just a podcast, it's a conversation. And I want to hear from you in the comments as we go along. Tonight, we're rolling the dice on one of the most pressing issues facing our country right now: heated debates about politics and the way we talk to each other. Things are running hot in America. The big question: is there any way to turn down the heat? Can we cool the climate of our conversations, or are we stuck living in extremes? To explore these questions, I am joined by some guests who potentially could represent a wide range of perspectives. And remember, I'm not here to win any argument. I'm here simply to have a conversation. So let's roll the dice and see where the dialogue takes us. So first, I want to introduce, I will go ahead and say a longtime friend, right? A student, somebody who actually went from student to being my peer to, at times, I follow you on social media. Now I consider you sometimes a mentor, right? Or a teacher. I feel that our relationship has come full circle in a way that it should be, right? I think I first met you, what were you, freshman or sophomore at East Carolina University. We did a couple of school trips together and that kind of thing. And then I think our relationship grew after you graduated, just kind of keeping track with what you had going on. I think one time I got to meet your mom and stuff like that. So, our relationship over the years, like I said, went from teacher, student to now we are peers. I consider you a peer. And actually, at times, like I said, following your social media, I'm like, you know what? Farah has far surpassed me on a number of level of thinking. So, Farah, can you just give a quick introduction to yourself, just so everybody knows who you are?
Yeah, for sure. Well, definitely, I live under the tutelage of your professorship. I have definitely, I think, gone far in business due to you and the department and ECU. Really, hospitality was a heck of a thing to start in, and most recently, professionally, I've been in operations, business ops for anything from the tech industry to now home and auto insurance. So I do a little bit of, more of the admin stuff now, as far as that goes, not small business and things of that nature, like I was really training to do when I was with you at school. Other than that, I am an advocate for chronic illness and trafficking in my spare time. And also, I write under FM Calloway for the Wandering Gentile. I have done some things on social. However, I've got a blog coming out, and really, I'm just learning like you are. That's about it,
Yeah.
Dave.
No, I appreciate the introduction. And I have another panelist. I'm going to go ahead and throw Jordan, another individual that I absolutely love to death. Met Jordan when I was serving as the department chair and director at Livingstone College for the Hospitality and Culinary Arts Department. Jordan and I think, hit it off almost immediately. We became kindred spirits. Jordan, love you, my brother. Glad you could join us. Can you please introduce yourself to everybody, just so everybody could have an idea of who's joining me on this conversation this evening?
All righty. My name is Jordan Walker. Most people call me Chef Jordan Walker. I am a 2018 and 2019 graduate of Livingstone College. I went on to get my MBA, and I honestly would not have got my MBA had Dr. Rivera not encouraged me to actually go get it, because it definitely wasn't on my radar. It has definitely helped propel me. I've always been able to do that walk of life. I have a foundation called the Walker Project that aims to do culinary programs in low income neighborhoods, as well as being a full-time school teacher. So I'm definitely happy to be here tonight. And was listening to you, auto sales, insurance was definitely interesting. Dr. Revere definitely will inspire you to really go out the limb, because I never seen myself doing anything outside of the kitchen.
You know, um, and actually, both of you, I'm so glad that you were able to join. Like I said, this is such a full circle moment because I met you both at different stages of my life, right? And probably was when I look back, just a different person at each one of these different stages. And to see you guys now and you guys sitting here, students definitely have become the teachers. I've watched you guys and what you do, and I get inspired by you. Helps keep me young, helps keep me kind of fresh and invigorated. So I'm glad you're able to join me on this conversation. And I want to throw out the first question, and whoever feels compelled to kind of answer that first little piece. I want us to think local, right? Because right now you look at the global scale, there's so much going on, and sometimes it's hard for people to absorb all of this information at one time. So I want us to think local. So what do you think are some small things, some realistic changes, right, that communities or individuals could make that actually make a difference in this bigger picture of bringing down the heat? And I just think about my community. St. Augustine is it's a unique place. Sometimes it's amplified because it is such a small community, and if one group or another feels so compelled to be vocal, it kind of reverberates through the community in a certain way. I also like to remind people that St. Augustine was the place that Martin Luther King said is the most lawless city in the United States when it came to racism, when he was going through his civil rights marches, right? So just to give it some context, there are still some like KKK groups and white supremacist groups that operate here in St. Augustine, right? So getting small and doing it locally sometimes may seem like a big challenge for some individuals. I'm not exactly sure where each of you are living as far as how you feel in your communities, but can you just tell me some things that you think you could do to make a difference just in your local community that may eventually reverberate into bigger things?
Ironically, did I cut you off?
No, you're good. I wanted you to go first.
Alrighty. Ironically, I'm joked on Facebook and I'm still learning. This basically a conversation me and Dr. River has had about sometimes some of the things that you post on Facebook can be misinterpreted or they can be taken seriously. Um, One thing that actually recently happened
Jordan, real
is
quick,
no.
I'm going to cut you off real quick. I just want to give a
Um,
big shout out to Savion Mitchell, who actually joined on Facebook. He made a comment. He said
oh,
mentorship, something that could be done.
okay.
Just to give a shout out again to LC in the house, right? Savion Mitchell, met him during my time at Livingstone College. I will say this: as much as I love teaching at multiple places, there was no place like an HBCU campus. I just want to say that.
It
Um,
definitely was.
so, Jordan, go ahead.
So I was asked to run for something. I won't say what yet because I'm still considering it. But I was actually asked to run for something. I think really, and that kind of empowered me to take being in the community being seriously. One thing I always have conversations with people about is just I think one of the biggest things we can do is be involved locally, like being involved with our communities, knowing what's going on within the communities locally, and voting locally. I tell people, like people, it's some people that I notice of older demographics, like 70, 80, and they've never voted in a local election. They've always just voted for the president and just kept it moving, and I think that's very important to know what's going on within the community. And I think with that, what that has actually taught me is to not look at things from a red or blue or purple perspective, to actually look at it from a local level. Because these are people I'm dealing with. These are people that directly, their decisions directly in fact impact my safety. It impacts how I live in my community. And if I feel like my community is worthy for me to stay there. So I think that's one of the biggest things that people can do is just be local and be involved and know what goes on and not have the I'm only one person mentality, because your one opinion may be able to empower hundreds, if not thousands of people. So I think that's like one of the biggest things is just being involved locally.
Thank you for that, Jordan. And before we continue on, I want to introduce Madam President, Manhattan Center High School, 1991, taking it back to the days of the Rams. Ayana was a classmate of mine when we were in New York in Harlem, Manhattan Center for Science and Math. Ayana, it's so good to see you. How are you doing? Everything
I'm
is good
great.
with you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry for my punctuality. I have school board obligations and it ran a little longer. So
No,
please
it's
forgive
totally
me.
okay. I mean, you are actually the epitome right now of what a lot of people talk about. What can we do as far as getting small? You're doing a lot of things in your local community. But before we get to that, can you just introduce yourself real quick, just so anybody who ends up catching up with the podcast, ends up watching it on the rerun, knows who you are?
Again, my name is Ayana Cabrera Cook. He knows me as Ayana Cabrera only. I'm a native of New York, and I came to college in Texas, and I have lived here for many years. We graduated in '91, and I've been here since I graduated college. I'm a mother of three. I am now single, not looking for anybody, but I'm now single, and it is an opportunity that I have now in and just what's going on is to be creative and do the things I love. I actually am finally giving birth to my company, For Me Communications. And with that, I'm actually helping companies do things a little differently in this society, in this world. How do you keep your bottom people, the people who during COVID were your first line of defense, how to keep them and appreciate them? So I'm trying to teach C-level, C-suite people how to take care of their bottom level because they're the most important people. A company can run with bottom level. I mean, can run with top level people gone, but they cannot run with the bottom level people not being taken care of. So I think that there's a gap in society now where you only take care of the rich, and we need to take care of the masses, and the masses are the people on the front line. So that's part of what I do in my company, and I do a lot of other things. But I'm also a school board trustee in my city, and that is a whole different ball of wax. Public school funding, my God, in Texas, like we got to put up the signs in the buildings that say, the 10 Commandments. No, sir, that needs to be in your political office, not the schoolhouse. But it's definitely an opportunity now just to be the front line. Generation X has to step up and step out. We've waited a long time for this opportunity because a lot of those older politicians and leaders, they never left. And we kind of got caught in the crosshairs of that. So the brilliance that you see with David, David's my boy. And first of all, David, it's so good to see you.
Thank you.
You're one of the most healthy people I know. And to see what you had to go through, like, my goodness. So, but again, Gen X, we survivors. I just posted something and I was like, even through this time right now, we have the skills to survive and even thrive in this chaos. And it is our time to show it. And that's it. I'm just trying to encourage people, make God proud with what things that I do, and inspire people to do what they can. Not what I do, but what you can do in the place that you are.
No, thank you for sharing that. And I also want to add what you guys see now from Ayana, I saw when we were like freshmen and sophomores in high school. Like, you've been the same. You remind me a lot of my brother, who's now the CEO of the Association of Latino Professionals for America, ALFA, which we got to get you to one of those Johns, man.
Let's go. But I don't speak Spanish, though. I'm Dominican, but
hey, it's all good. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not the fact whether you speak the language or not. We are la misma sangre. We're the same blood. We are the same people.
Send me the info.
We got to stay united because
Absolutely.
we need people like you. There's a lot of us Afro-Latinos, that intersectionality. A lot of people think, oh, you're black, you're not Latino. No, we are.
So I'm black.
We are white. We are black.
I am Dominican.
We are everything.
We are every color because they're white ones, they're black ones. We are the true. I don't call it a melting pot. I call it a salad because we all have different flavors. And that melting pot is like so we can forget who we are. That was cute when we were kids, but now I'm like, no, I like this.
Not now.
I like this over here. So we all a bunch of different things in this world, and it's a nice, good salad.
So I'm gonna go ahead and jump to my girl Farah real quick. Farah, what are some things you're doing or that you feel people can do in their local communities where it's small but can help influence the bigger picture to try and help bring the temperature down and actually make positive change happen?
I really like what Jordan had to say about being locally involved. I live in Charleston, North Charleston, South Carolina now, mainly, and I still work remote out in Nashville. So I'm really involved in both communities as I can be, because I put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in the communities and in business in both areas for a while now. So definitely been at some city council meetings, been at certain party meetings. I check it all out as a writer, really a journalist even. I don't do a lot of up-to-date work. I just have to write on a lot of stuff retroactively because I'm dealing with chronic illness. But as much as I can, I try to go to those, local events. And I appreciate what Jordan was saying, no matter if it's left or right. In fact, one of our mayors, Reggie Burgess, he was the former chief of police. And I don't even know what his affiliation is, but he had done such a good job, right? Being chief of police, we got him in there. So we definitely go to different events, even if it's Charleston Arts Fest, whatever it is that it's going to be not just the probably public servant community, however, as well, like the civic communities. That's what I'm thinking. So these days I'm Greek Orthodox, so definitely getting the parish involved. Among other, the Holy City here is not just interfaith. I mean, we do have an interfaith kind of congregation that meets, but you guys probably remember the shooting that happened here, in the, I think it was an AME church. I forget which church it was. And I have a friend that's a bishop from here, and I believe he knew some of those people personally. But with that being said, this community has had to tamp it down many times, right, to what you're saying, bring the temperature down, especially when there's hate and division that has just risen like that out of nowhere. Because I would say we live in a pretty peaceful community. It's come a long way. This is where the first shot of the Civil War rang out. So, these are definitely some interesting grounds. Very interesting grounds. But I'm telling you, grain of the salt, people here. There's been a lot of healing. I understand that there are still, some long ways to go in a lot of areas, like you were talking about St. Augustine. But to that point, it seems that when we, the citizens, the people, really touch grass, we've got particular problems. She had even said a second ago with the masses, the people that aren't rich. There's a lot of that everywhere, even in bigger cities. Nashville here, it's really, in fact, Nashville is a working people's town. I don't think people understand that. And I think that there's just unrest there because rents have gotten so high. So, too, I think a lot of us are trying to be involved in business and figure out ways, not just the politics thing, the business. We've got a lot of small businesses here. So I liked what your friend said that she was doing. So, yeah, just keep it local. That's essentially what I've been trying to do, So.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you for sharing that. I want to jump to you, Ayana, for the next question right here. And part of the reason I wanted to have this conversation, because I'm not going to lie, right? Sometimes I find myself guilty of turning up the heat and turning up the volume, right? So I always reach out to my brother, Damian Rivera, who also went to Manhattan Center High School, another Harlem product, right? Actually, if you look at Manhattan Center as a whole, a lot of us that came out of there, the value that we're kicking back in, right? But he's the best man I know. Right. Before I looked at my brother that way, it was my father. But my brother has just become the individual that I feel I cannot. And a lot of times I turn up the heat. I'm not going to lie. Right. That's my character flaw. It is my character flaw. And I ask him all the time, how do you do this? Like, how can you do that? I can't do that. I'm quick to tell people, and pardon my language, get the fuck out of my face with that bullshit. Right. I'm so fast to do that. It's a character flaw, because when I look at him, he's the man I aspire to be all the time. And I go, man, you're always figuring out a way to take it down. So Ayana, the question I have for you is, and then everybody else can chime in. Some people believe that the media and politics fuel the division by framing everything as a us versus them. I don't always believe that. I believe they throw things out there and the individual then decides what side they want to take. That it's not the media that pushes you one way necessarily or the other. Others argue that the division is real and based on deeply conflicting values. Do you feel that the problem is the way that we talk to each other, or is the problem truly the differences themselves?
I think the main problem is that we listen differently.
Okay.
It's not how we talk. I think it's how we listen, how we receive what's coming out of someone else's mouth. I think that we miss an opportunity to see what's within. Because now I was a spitfire as a kid, but what I've learned is that what I have to say is so much more important at times than the delivery in which I'm going to give it, that I had to learn how to be a better communicator and tamper it back. And what is a better communicator? Not interrupting people when they're speaking, letting them complete their thought. Now, if they're rude, you don't take that, because I'm not going to take rudeness, but I'm going to let you finish because I'm going to beat you with your words. If you said something that was out of line, that was not factual, that was whatever it was, I'm just going to listen so well. And I'm not listening to respond. I'm listening to receive what you are saying. Then I'm going to give it back to you, and I'm going to ask questions. And I think, people now take asking questions as a form of disrespect. Well, guess what? I can ask questions, and you can ask questions. And it is if I believe you are being you want to know and you want to learn, I have to be able to provide that feedback. Now, I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm not teaching Black ethics to anybody. I'm not going to tell you why Black people do what Black people do. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I cannot give you that, but I can give you something that you can, and I can tell you where to go find that information. But I think that we get so offended so fast nowadays. And let me say this, I get offended too, but is it going to get me the outcome that I want if I act on it? That is always when I sit on a board and I represent children and I represent a community. They don't like what I do. Sometimes they don't like what I say. I got to hear them out. And now if they allow me the opportunity to explain the thoughts of the seven of us or my personal thoughts, I'll give it to you. But I think we miss the mark by not listening. Now, does media play a part in that? Well, right now, media is all over the place. Yeah. This is not the media of yesteryear. This is not the media we grew up with. It is biased. And my degree's in history. I love history, but I'm going to come back to you with facts. Like, okay, well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. And it has to be in a calm way, because I live in Texas. I'm still a New Yorker. I'm still going to come with you. So my directness can offend somebody. So the goal is always for you to hear what I'm saying and not how I'm saying it. The media plays a huge role with people who are not connected to themselves. At this big old age of 52, I don't care what you think, but I got to represent God. I got to make sure that I'm representing a higher being. Whoever yours is, you represent them well. But I got to represent that. And I got to represent the fact that everybody has a right to be heard. But when you are inflammatory, when you're not telling the truth, you're going to have to eat whatever comes with that. And that includes us. That includes you, David. Like you say, you ramp up. But if it comes back at you, that's the only thing we can control is us, me, myself, and all three of us. I can control that. I can't control what anybody else does and says. So if I get hyped, I already know something's coming back to bite me. So no matter what is being put out there, and for the record, y'all, I don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news, and I was a news junkie. I haven't watched the news since the Ukraine started, like 23. Yeah, it was in 23, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I could not, because that was so heavy on me. And I've never been that open to letting stuff. And I was just like, they're just like, these people are getting bombed every day. And I would wake up to news, go to bed to news. And then when the election cycle came, I snuck back in for a minute. And I said, nope, I can't do it. I'll read it. I control my own news. I go read an article because I can vet the information. I can, take that little extra time. But in this time, the only reason why I can be peaceful is because I protect what I put in. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense. Because one of the things I found myself doing, I have a TV in my office. Usually I have the news on as I'm doing things. I haven't turned it on since I found out the assassination of Charlie Kirk was real. And when I say that it was real, I thought that was clickbait.
Oh, wow.
Like I thought it was clickbait. And I said, there's no way somebody went to that extreme. Now, I'll be the first to say there were a lot of things about Charlie Kirk I disagree with, what he was saying, and sometimes how he moved and how he carried himself. But deep down, I never thought, and I was telling Farrah before we started, that I would turn on the news or look at social media and see the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Right. I
So I
actually
haven't
at
seen
first
that.
went, yeah, I actually first went, that's AI. That can't be real. Right. I was in such disbelief. And then my son, yo, did you hear? My other son, yo, did you hear? People I know, yo, did you hear? Did you see? Did you hear? Did you see? And then when I realized that was a real thing, I wish I hadn't seen it.
Yeah. Want to know something that's
As much
funny?
as-
I didn't know who he was. And like a lot of people, my circle, we had never heard of him until that happened. And then I had to come back because, you know, I think I know. I'm like, he wasn't meant for me. He
Mhm.
was not targeting me. He wasn't targeting my circle of peers. You work in a college, you know, and you have these kids that are in that age range. So that might be something you were aware of. I was absolute, and I think I'm aware of a lot of stuff. And so when I started reading his words and hearing what he had to say, did he deserve to be killed? Absolutely not. But those words are insightful. Those words can get you in trouble. Like what I'm saying right now, you have to be very mindful of what you put out there. It doesn't matter, preachers, everybody. I didn't know he existed. I just read, you know, these. And I'm a Black woman with Dominican descent, directly from, you know, the original place where the Black people landed first. You know what I'm saying? Well, Puerto Rico, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We're the
You know what I
same. We're
mean? The
basically the same.
Caribbean,
I know
right?
what
We
you
just say. But when I heard him, you know, you got a PhD, don't you?
Yeah.
Right. When I heard him disparaging women that look like me, who have the qualifications of all things, and they're like, well, they got that because of DEI. No, you literally you have to take tests. You might have, some of them might have got in the door because it needed to be, that's what it was needed back then, but they still have to be qualified. You know, when I hear things like that coming from young people, that's scary.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is
No.
scary because it's like this Black man, oh, I hope he's qualified to fly a plane. Are we really going that? Are we really, you know? So that mindset, that twisted sister type of mindset that's being spread to the youth, we got to detoxify them.
Yeah, that's true. I also want to give a big shout out to Renee, another Livingstone College connection. She said, yes, listen to understand, not just to spit out an opinion. We can be passionate, peaceful, and respectful, right? I think those were the key things. And that's one of the things I always loved and respect about Renee. She listened to everybody. She was always open to what people had to say. You know, and I'm very self-aware that sometimes there are some things, depending on what somebody says, it is going to ramp me up, right? One of my sons and my brother were having a conversation, and he said, hey, I called you to get advice on how to deal with my dad because nobody has more experience with dealing with him than you, right?
That's big sis, big. That's the oldest sibling, baby. Yes, that's
right?
who we are.
And my brother goes, yeah, right. But here's the thing: there's a level of respect that my brother and I have for each other. That at least he goes, you know, Dave, you are who you are, and you're very self-aware. You reach out to try and make yourself better. He goes, you're at the point now you got to start taking steps to truly make yourself that better guy. Not just say, hey, that's the guy I want to be, and keep saying I can't get there. He goes, you can get there. You just got to start believing you can get there and listening to what people are saying. So some of the things you said, Ayanna, I'm going to go ahead and take. I want to go ahead and jump to Farah or Jordan. Is there anything either of you want to add regarding that? Do you think the problem is the way we talk, or is it truly the differences themselves?
I think honestly we've became just so complacent with being disrespectful to one another. I mean, I think it's a number of factors that has really changed the landscape of how we talk to each other. I would definitely say social media because you can hide behind a screen and just say anything to anybody. I had recently made some comments on the previous subject that you guys was on, and I mean, I got nasty messages, and I honestly didn't feel like what I posted was anything wrong. And it's just like, even just, it's just the empowerment of people just feeling like, you know, they can say whatever and just lean back on the first, I mean, on the Second Amendment of just having freedom of speech.
First
I
Amendment.
think.
First
I'm
Amendment.
sorry, First Amendment. I was right the first
I was about
time.
to say 2A all day. That's the Second Amendment. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
the
was
pew
like,
pews.
Ooh,
Bro.
yes,
That's the pew
and
pews.
those are the only two
Texas is
I've
all
been
about
hearing
them pew
about.
pews, man.
got one.
Florida's
I
we
need.
just actually passed that legislation now, open carry, man.
Mhm.
So Florida's about the pew pews too. So yeah, that's 2A, baby. Farrah, do you have
So,
anything you wanted to add? Oh, I'm sorry, Jordan. Did I cut you off? I
oh
apologize.
no, you're fine. I threw everybody off getting the amendments wrong. So I mean, just I feel like we just in a place where we just have started feeling comfortable saying whatever it is. And I think it's just people pushing people to be like, you can say this, there's no punishment, or just empowering people to have negativity. It's more people empowering people to be negative than it is positive. I've definitely noticed it here recently that you should be able to say this and not get punished. Just like recently, I meant the push for people to lose their jobs. At one point, it was one side pushing for people to lose their jobs based off their views, and now it's the other side pushing for people to lose their jobs based off of their opinions. And to me, I mean, just all around, I think it's not great, and it's just disgusting at this point, of how we treat each other. And it kind of made me look at it like maybe some of the things I've been upset with people about, saying that was their personal opinion, but it definitely goes back to just being respectful and being able to listen. One of the main things that I had to tell somebody, I was recently having a discussion with somebody, and the discussion was just so tone deaf. Is I guess because working in education and just being able to be in diverse situations, I've always had that ability to look at things from other people's perspectives. And I honestly don't think a lot of people look at things from other people's perspectives. It's just like, I've had situations where I didn't have anywhere to stay, and somebody that can't relate to that, they're not going to be able to look at that situation or even want to look at that situation. So I had to ask one of my friends, I said, have you ever been targeted based off of, your race, sexuality, or gender? And they was like, well, no, that's never happened to me. Have you ever woke up and like wondered where your next meal was coming from? Well, no, that's never happened to me. Have you ever been scared to be pulled over by the police? No, I mean, they're there to protect and serve. Have you ever worried about not getting a job because of what your name is, or how you look in an interview? Your hair may be a certain hairstyle that they don't want. And I was told, well, that doesn't really happen. It's more or less how you interview. And the conversation we were having was, these are things that happen. You may not see them because you have not been in situations to where that affected you. And I think that's more or less the problem, is that people just don't think before they speak. They don't think about how it makes other people feel.
And Jordan, I want to throw this out. You said something, and I think it's an important piece. One-on-one, two-on-two, maybe, right? You're dealing with a person, you can have a rational conversation.
Hmm.
Dealing with people, then you get that mob mentality, and that's where things start to go sideways. Like some of the conversations I've had with people, and after I make this point, I want to jump to Farrah to get her thoughts. When people talk about, well, all those people that are on government assistance are no good, and I tell them, I was like, well, do you know how I grew up? I grew up in Wagner Projects. We grew up on government assistance. Right? I said I had food stamps. Had to go to the next building to get cheese, rice, right, which was good ass cheese for nachos and grilled cheese. Oh, you couldn't beat it, man. It's making me miss having it, but not miss being in the situation that
To have
allowed me
to have
get it, right? Yeah. Right. And they were like, wow, I didn't know that, because they see the suit, shirt, and the tie, Dave, right? They see Dr. Rivera.
Mhm.
And it's a completely different thought. It's hard for them to grasp that my brother and I shared a couch at Wagner Projects because we lived with our grandmother and our parents and an aunt and an uncle, and we all shared the same apartment. And people were like, what? It's like they can't grasp that thought, right? That my dad came from Puerto Rico and they didn't have enough money to afford a brand new lock. So they used to make believe they locked the door, hoping nobody would steal their shit when they went out. They used to make believe they locked the doors, hoping nobody would break in while they were there sleeping. They used to ram a door underneath, right? And when I tell people this story and they hear it, they go, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize." Right. And I go, "Am I one of those people that you think is just out there to rob the system?" I said, "Look, I've paid more into a system than I've ever taken out of a system." Right.
Mhm.
But it's a person. When you get people, it kind of gets that mob mentality. So, Farah, yes, very quickly, your thoughts. Do you think the problem is the way we talk, or truly the differences themselves?
Well, I like what both of you guys said. I think I can answer that. Before we got on here, we were talking a little bit. Like I said, both sides are pointing the finger. Now these people are firing. Now these people are firing. So it's like, what is it? There's probably some culpability on both ends if we're to that point. But I appreciate too. You and I think Ayana said something about essentially like group ethics. Maybe with welfare and. Also, she said something about, I guess, speaking for Black people, it's like, with the whole Charlie Kirk situation and really some of the stuff that's been going on in the last couple administrations, I think that there has been, a certain group ethic. And it's like, it's not fair that some people get to speak for all of us. Being Greek Orthodox, we just had our ecumenical patriarch Bartholomew come to the White House, and he explained, there are dangers of ethnocentrism. That's not what we ultimately serve. There is a separation between church and state. Now, we have our own brand of things here in America, right, that they don't have in other parts of the world. So we have some unique issues here, which really does bother a lot of us because, like you said, it ends up being a mob mentality. And it's like, as individuals, a lot of us do not, represent some of that at all. I was not a Charlie Kirk fan, even if he said some things I could agree with. No, do not throw that juju on me just because I'm Orthodox. So I think that's a huge thing. But going back to kind of what you posed, much less what we were talking about the media, I'm not sure if we're getting 100% truth from anybody, right? So I think it's really tough to make assessment on certain things when we're not getting the absolute utmost truth, because then I think that leads to a lot of chaos, confusion. How can we be wise in judging a lot of people when we're not getting 100% truth? The way I know you, Dave, offline compared to anything online, oh my gosh, I'm not saying that you're starkly different, but it's like, I know your heart more than just like he's saying a tweet or something like that. That does not lead to unity at all. It gives a caricature of a lot of people, right? So I think if we're not getting 100% truth, I think discernment is a big issue. I cannot speak for Charlie Kirk's heart. I can't speak for any of your hearts, that's between you and God, really. But I think with the information we do have, discernment and wisdom is huge. Kind of like the saying with, tomato, it's like, what is it? Wisdom or what is it? I'm trying to think how it's put, but it's like, something or other is knowing that, tomatoes are fruit, and wisdom is knowing not to throw it in a salad, fruit salad. So it's kind of like that type of thing I'm seeing because I have friends on all sides of the aisle. And like I said, Dave, I'm just trying to seek truth. I don't need enemies. In fact, what we're talking in Orthodoxy is that we need apostles, not assassins. The appropriate response is revival, not riot. So
I tell you what, those are some great insightful words, Farah. Ayana.
I just want to say this is one thing that I've learned in my older years is you don't have to respond to everything, right? Like peace is so valuable, your own peace. And even in this place that we are, this is a transitional phase for everyone. You don't have to join every conversation, even if you have something that protect you, because when you said mob mentality and when you say, all these different things that can happen, you don't have to respond because that's baby girl. That's baby girl.
That's baby girl. Yes.
That's the one you
that's my youngest.
With. Yeah, that's
my youngest. Yeah.
So I just say that if everybody thought about that in a way of what is my time valuable, right? So is my energy valuable? Is my peace valuable? I keep on scrolling. Now, I might type something out and then wipe it away because I have to let it out. But
that's really smart.
Yeah,
what
I
So,
just,
I,
I just
I wish I
by
could
touch,
do that more.
you can, you absolutely,
I
you
know, I
should.
know. I keep saying, I know,
You
I
should,
know. I
because your
aspire to be
heart is
like
more
you.
valuable.
Yeah.
David, you are too valuable to allow people who care nothing about you to dictate how you respond to them. Nobody has that control over me anymore. But
Yeah.
that's a New Yorker in us. Like, real talk. Like, we had to come with it, and that was that was a survival. Right now, we are in a thriving and a surviving. We need to make it parallel. Don't give anybody that much energy power over you. Guess what? It's a click of a button. Move on. Move on. But that's just the one thing I say. No matter what, there's a lot going on, and I don't even know if I have friends on the other side anymore, because I'm so contained. Like, I used to have friends who were Republicans, and I think they're still my friends, but I don't see them saying the things that would make them not be my friend. Does that make sense? Because I will cut you off if you are not, if you are doing anything that is indicative of who I believe you to be, and I can see it, and I'm like, nah, we are not aligned, and it's okay. And there's a season. You said discernment. That's not discernment. That's actually seeing that you are not aligned with me. So I can go ahead and, with a good heart and everything, we're not meant to be together and be friends anymore. So those who, and I'm saying Republicans, because it's not even, it's like right and wrong, good and bad. To me, if you believe in God, are you trying to take care of the masses? No matter who, whatever title it is, are you being good to your fellow mankind? Is that what it is that you're trying to enhance? I'm sorry, in Texas, they want us, as I said earlier, to have the 10 Commandments up in the classroom. It's been voted on, it's supposed to be there. I do not want children, I have to follow the law, whether I agree with it or not, but I don't want children to talk about what's adultery, what's don't cover thy neighbor's wife, like I don't, that's not the conversation. If you want to put something in a classroom, put the Beatitudes in it. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. If you want to put something somewhere, you put that in a classroom, and you put the adultery situation, the 10 Commandments, in the politicians' offices. That's where you put that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, you got to figure out how you can make the biggest difference wherever you are. If it's a big place, if it's a small place, make that big difference, and don't let anybody control your responses.
You look at it from such a different perspective, and I love the perspective that you looked at it. Because my thought was, not everybody's going to believe in the same God. Not everybody's going to follow kind of the same Bibles and all that kind of stuff. So the idea of throwing the 10 Commandments and framing it in one kind of way is not fair. To those people I know, one, that are really, really good people, but that are also atheists, right? To really, really good people I know that are also Buddhist, right? So it's different, that are Muslim. So those are the things that I think about. Going through this situation, there was an individual I know, and they said, Dave, I pray for you. And I said, thank you. I'll take all the prayers I can get from everybody's God that I make it through this, okay, right? I didn't care who. Yes, when I had the heart issue, like I didn't care that he was Muslim. I don't care. Like,
oh no, absolutely not.
The good juju I can get, and I'll take all the blessings I can get. And at the end of the conversation, he said, "Assalamu alaikum," and I said, "Wa alaikum salam," and he thanked me for kind of reciprocating and not ignoring it or saying I don't believe in it. Because at the end of the day, I was glad he wished well upon me. Right? I just needed good vibes and good thoughts at that time. And the idea that you just mentioned, the Beatitudes, I really like that a lot better than the idea of the 10 Commandments, because that is so much more palatable.
It's
and
mankind. It's humans. It's not even, and that's in the New Testament. That's where Christianity is. Old Testament is where the 10 Commandments are from, where they were stoning people, right? So let us be.
Ayana, when are you running for president? When are you going to run for president?
Look, guess what? Anybody can be president now, right?
Oh man, we need presidential candidates like you. We need presidential candidates like you.
It's not even, again, it's an enlightening. It's an enlightenment when your light goes off and you choose to enter a room and want to be something. Like, real, like I've been through some of the craziest things in the past 5 years, but that has not affected me, you know, like who I am. In fact, it made me more comfortable in being resolute and being open to like, hey, you don't gotta like me, because like is not in the Bible. You gotta respect me because I'm gonna respect you. Like it says like unto a, like it does not say you gotta like anybody. That is not a requirement. It says love. Right. So I'm just like, you don't gotta like disrespect me because I'm gonna respect you. I'm not gonna disrespect you, but you don't have to like me, and it's okay. And I'm gonna sleep very well at night. You know, so when people become so comfortable within themselves, all this other stuff and projecting and you and you and you and you, we got hungry people out here. We have homeless people out here. We have really big problems in our world, and we're sitting here going back and forth. This is a politic thing. I'm gonna say this: people vote, unfortunately, not selfishly. Because if you voted selfishly, if our country voted selfishly, we would not be in this position. Let me give an example. If teachers voted for people that supported public education, the majority of teachers in this country voted to support public education, do you think public education would be funded correctly? Yes. Yeah. Because the people that they're voting for don't support public education. I live in Texas. They literally just said, we're going to give $1 billion for private schools, and we're going to give $45 to public schools per child, right? Yeah. It's selfish with your vote, because if you're voting about my body and I'm not voting about my body, I'm not even being selfish with my body. Does that? I know that's real high level, but we got to be careful.
It makes complete sense.
It's like if we were selfish, because we're voting on other people's things. We're voting on, I don't like homosexuality, right? I'm so against that. I don't want any of that. Don't marry anybody of the same sex. I'm just saying, like, that's not, I don't have a hell or heaven to put you in. So whatever my beliefs are on there, that's mine. I can't put that on you.
No.
I just think different.
No. So as we get ready to go into this, we could be here forever. We here to answer questions. We kind of stuck with it. But last question. Think about things over the next day. Are you hopeful that we could turn this heat down? Or do you think things are going to go even more than what there are right now? I do have a question. I don't know if somebody has their volume turned up, but if you could possibly lower your volume, I'm hearing a bounce back. Oh, that's you. Is it the old ears? Because I'm getting old ears. Oh, okay. No. So whoever wants to go ahead and jump in first. Actually, I'll go with Farrah. Farrah's mic is hot.
I was going to say, was it mine? Can you hear me, or is it reverberating?
I hear you good now, but yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. Answer. Do you think things are going to start to balance out, or do you think it's going to continue to escalate over the next decade or so?
I think, and our girl over here, I think she said that she has a history major. I think if we look at history, some things kind of swing back and forth. We might be seeing, just an indicator of that as far as how some things have upticked. I know some people have been trying to compare the U.S. to Weimar Republic, in Germany. So who knows? There's a couple ways this thing could go. But I will say, being a dual citizen in Iran and America, there are some things going on, because I follow a lot of international media and a lot of international stories. And there's a lot of things going on that we are interconnected. We are not just America at all. So I feel like just depending on how some of those things go, even, could be, they could be consequential for us. I do think some things are going to get better, because I don't think a lot of people realize there has been revival. There has been a lot of change in this country. As much hate as you still see, there are a lot of prayers being answered, I think. And I can just say that on a local level. I can say that for people that I know, because I have seen them change. I think that's what it's about. And it's the change of the human heart. seen it happen in my own life. I used to not be too great of a person, believe it or not. Honestly,
you say
Dave.
that, Farrah, you say that,
Oh
but
yeah. Oh yeah. Listen,
but
I'm the worst of these, because the thing is, what she was just saying, if you truly loved your neighbor, if you truly, you know what, here's the thing, honestly, 100. If we saw our sin the way that we see Charlie Kirk and everybody else, the place would be way different. You can take that to the bank. If I saw myself as a thief on the cross, I'll be honest, or whatever religion you believe in, if you see yourself as that archetype, that's what I'm saying. Things would be way different. And that's why I'm saying in my own life, I've had to take responsibility for my family, my community, my home, right? And that's why I would be hopeful if we do just that. But to your point, if we just buy into the mob mentality and we don't, put our ear to heaven, then why should we not be Chile or anywhere else? Why not? If you don't believe in American exceptionalism, we're a step away from Iran, we really are in some ways. So that's just my 2 cents about it, I guess.
No, thank you for sharing that. Jordan, you want to add something, and then we'll go from Jordan to Madam President.
I think one of the things, to piggyback on what was just said, I think it really just depends on how we as Americans, how we as people start responding to things. It's just been amplified here recently, just with some policies and just something I really didn't want to mention, but just something that kind of just opened my eyes to people and just seeing it made me look at some people like, oh my gosh, this person is really not that bad, like I thought they was. And and then I looked at some people and that was just like, the this person, like, I can't believe they just said that. It's been things that people have been post. It's been things that have just been trending.
Mhm.
But I think one of the biggest things is the alligator thing.
Oh,
I forget.
alligator Alcatraz.
Yeah, just seeing how some people responded to that, I really just was disgusted with some of the things that I seen people say. Reading the comment section, I always joke with people and say that Facebook is messy because Facebook will show you the people comments first. And I had seen somebody in their comment, and I was flabbergasted by what they had posted about alligator food. And then this week, you know they were posting about empathy and having compassion for everybody and their opinions. And I think really that's just, it's hard to really tell in the direction that we're going in currently, like with just everybody's mind and hearts of how they feel about situations. And like I think it's been talked about all night, is just how everything has just been amplified in a magnitude. And then it's just so many things that just keeps amplifying it. We have social media, we have different news stations reporting with different narratives, and then we have things like TikTok that give us access to what other people around the world on the news are actually saying. So
Yeah.
those aspects is just, everybody is looking at America right now like, hey, what's going on with America? And then it's just, with websites like TikTok, I would say I don't even think Facebook is as intertwined around the world as TikTok, but you know, TikTok is more or less something where people don't really have to read. They can just watch it and listen and grasp from there. And I think that's really just the thing. People just saying things that may not necessarily be true that's going to keep amplifying the situation. It's going to take us being like, hey, you know what? We have to form our own opinion based off like real research.
Yeah.
One situation I will say is that I had to look at it from perspective. Dr. Rivera can tell you I've came a long way. I used to be set in my ways and set on my opinions. Like if I had an opinion, I was set on it. I remember one time that I had sent him an email and I was upset about something because somebody had just told me, well, this is what's happening. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna transfer schools. And he sent me an email, and it was one of the nicest emails, but it really didn't feed into the negativity that I had behind my email. And then when we had a conversation, he was like, "Hey, I want you to take one finger and point at yourself, and then no, he said point one finger at me, and I pointed the finger at him. I didn't know where this was going, and then he had me point two fingers at myself, and he said every time we point one finger at one person, two people are pointing a finger back at us. And I was like, wait, what? No, that's not what I'm saying. Like, no, this ain't my fault. So I use that with my students nowadays in the classroom, and I still think about it was like a funny moment. In that moment, I didn't find it funny, but today I find it very funny, and it's something that I took with me. Like, you know what? I can have this opinion about what's going on, but then 5, 6 people can point back out, well, what are you doing in your community? And honestly, I'm teaching, I have a nonprofit, but what am I really doing for the betterment, I know those are things that contribute to the well-being of the community, but like, what am I really, really doing? And that's like something I had to look at. I'm part of that generation that, really don't research elected officials, kind of just go with what's being told. And I've gotten out of that in recent years. I've started doing my research, and I think that's really what it's going to take for people to really have compassion and love for other people, having those conversations, sitting down, having those conversations.
Yeah, getting out of their silos, getting out of the
Yeah,
silo.
like for me, I am not a Republican, but I've been recently thinking, like, I want to sit down and have a conversation with a Republican that look like me, because I want to understand where your mindset is. Because a lot of times I just like people like Candace Owens, or Stacey Dash. Like, those are people that I just listen to, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why are you talking? But I get bits and snippets like everybody else. I've never sat down. I can honestly admit I've never sat down and watched a full clip of what they've been saying. So, somebody with those mindsets, I would love to just sit there and have a conversation with, and just see where it's coming from. It's a guy in Florida. I can't think of what his name. Brian. He's a black Republican, and it's somebody. I did some research on him. I think his name Donald Bryan or something like that. And I was like seeing that he wanted to cut back on nonprofits and restorative programs. And then a news article wrote that he benefited from one of those programs. So those, just those conversations are the conversations I want to have with people, to be able to understand, so I can open up my heart more to other people's views.
Well, are you talking about Brian Donalds, the senator?
Yes, there we go. That's his name.
Okay, yeah, he's actually okay. You threw me off for a second, then I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, he's actually looking at running for the governorship of the state of Florida. We'll go ahead and slide over. Ayana, do you think things are going to get better, or do you think it's going to keep escalating?
I don't believe we're at the peak yet, but I always have hope. I don't think we've peaked out. But I do believe it. And that's real life. Like, you can still have hope. Even, this is what I say, like, they're valley moments, right? So sometimes, the valley moments, there are way more valley moments than there are peak moments. But you're still supposed to praise and be hopeful in those valley moments. So even if it's hard, even when you were recovering from your heart surgery and all those things, you were praising even in your valley, right? So it's always important that when you know there's more to come, at least be prepared. Like, don't be like, oh, it's all good, because that's what this country did when they were like, racism is over, we had a black president. I'm just saying, so there are many of us who did not believe that. We knew the truth. And the truth didn't set us free. No, we knew better. But those who didn't, they were like, we had a black president, so racism is over. I knew there was more to come. So I do believe we have not reached the peak of all of this contention. I do believe that there's going to be some hard things that happen, because there are people who are finally free to say what they really have been wanting to say about everybody. And it's not just a Black thing, it's a everybody thing. It's not attacking one. It's attacking women, just all women. It's attacking this, all, so I think that personally, I like people being free to say what they want because I know what I'm working with. I've always said, let me see your hood. Back in the day when I was younger, when I first came to Texas, because, growing up in New York, it was some covert racism, right? But we didn't see it. Until I came to the South, was I like, so
we
like
probably experienced something
wear
similar because I went to South Carolina.
Right. So you understand what I'm saying?
I went to South Carolina and I was like, yo, like, what the heck? But then my dad was like, well, you remember that time and you remember this and you did. And I was like, oh, shit. New York is just as bad. It's right. Yeah.
When we used to have to ring the bell to go into stores on Fifth Avenue or downtown on 34th Street. That was just like, it's New York. It's what you're supposed to happen. So
or they wouldn't deliver to a certain parts of New York after dark.
Or you couldn't get a cab.
Yeah.
So I just say, I mean, I'm gonna go back to what you said. I do not believe we're at the peak yet. I do believe we have a journey ahead of us. I do believe that part of the solution is making sure that people that represent the masses actually care for the masses. And so you guys were talking about local elections. That's where everything begins. That is foundational. And if we do not take care of home, we cannot expect anybody that does not live in our home to take care of us. I call it pothole politics, because if there's a pothole in your street, you got to call people downtown. I mean, I know my mayor. I know those people. Everybody doesn't have that, but you got to know where your power is. And there's the power in the people in your town. So local politics, city politics, state politics, that is where it's homegrown. And we don't take that. You look at, your local politics, your local elections, school board elections. I think I might have had 3,000 votes and the other person might have had, it wasn't a lot. It wasn't a large turnout. So if you want to know what's wrong in your community, start there, because legislation and rules and all that and money and taxes, and it's going to come from there. And local politics shouldn't be partisan. It should be what's best for your community. It shouldn't be, I didn't run on a platform of my political affiliation, because it's local politics, right? We have to get out of the mindset of one of my really good, we ran on a ticket. It was called 3 Men and a Cook. I was the only woman. So the 3 men, it was another school board person. It was a city council, and myself.
Cook.
3 Men and a Cook. A community member made that up because they were like, who should we vote for? One of them is a Republican, a registered Republican, one of the kindest, non-rhetoric, old school Republicans I know, just good man, good family man, raises family, loves his wife, we pray together. We did all these things together. So it wasn't a partisan thing. And we get stuff done together. So there are people who may not, and I don't believe we disagree on most things, honestly, because he's that open to whatever it is he's open to. So I'm going to say that there's hope because I see it. There's hope because I represent children. I can't think that it's not going to get better, but I do believe that it's going to be hard, and I prepare my kids for that. Sorry, I prepare my kids for that. The alarm just went off for that all the time because, I got one that's about to be 18. I have a senior in college, a senior in high school, and an 8th grader. Guess what happens? They got to go out into this world, and they have to be well equipped emotionally. They got to know civically what's going on, and they have to be educationally sound in order not to be influenced by the people that go to try to indoctrinate them. People think public schools indoctrinate people or colleges. That's not it. It's a one-off, So I got to put all that power in. I got to have hope. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But while we're in the valley, we still got to praise and we got to keep hope alive. Jesse Jackson, 1988.
Yes. I'm going to say this. I am so glad I decided to do this. This was actually stemmed, and Farrah, you may remember this name, Spencer Barrick. He was at East Carolina as well. I think he went on one of the Vegas trips with us. So I was in Vegas at the Alpha convention. Spencer was like, "Hey man, I see you're in town. Let's go grab breakfast." And we went and had breakfast. And one of the last things he said, he goes, "What happened to the podcast you were doing, man? I really liked it. Where did it go?" And it's been sitting with me since like August 1st. Sitting with me. And I was like, man, let me go ahead and see about doing one. I don't know if we'll do another one. Who knows? But you guys have inspired me to actually, I will say this, really evaluate myself and what I'm doing and what I can do better to be not just a better, I don't want to say man, right, but a better human being. Because all of you have mentioned things and it didn't have to do with a man or a woman. It had to do with just being a better person. So I want to thank you all for that. I do have some final thoughts that I had jotted down some notes, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the episode with this. Tonight we've rolled the dice on one of the most important conversations that we can have. The climate inside our communities and conversations. They are very, very hot, very, very escalated, very elevated. But what stood out to me is that while there may not be easy answers, there are always actions that we can follow. And each one of you has actually said something that I hope whoever watches this, either live or watches this later on a replay, can take something from each of you. Because I know tonight I have taken something from each of you. It could be rethinking how we vote. It could be simply listening to someone that we disagree with, not waiting for the moment to rebut, but actually waiting for the moment that we understand their perspective. We don't want to ignore the problem. And that's not what this is. That's not what I was talking about tonight. I'm not talking about just letting or ignoring problems, but turning down the heat so you could truly understand and listen to what you think the problem is and help somebody else listen to what you think the problem is, and possibly silencing all the outside voices and coming to a solution together. It means finding a bright light instead of fire all the time, right? So let's focus on the solutions instead of just shouting at one another. So as I close, I want to challenge all of us. Nobody more than I want to challenge myself, because I've heard a lot of things that I'm deficient at, a lot of things that I need to improve on. And that's why I said I'm not searching for proving somebody wrong. I'm actually looking at just listening to the conversation, and I found a lot of things that I need to do in myself to help turn down the heat and turn down the volume. One of the biggest things I've learned tonight is I may just need to take a deep breath before responding to people online. So Ayana, I want to thank you for that. Right, when you said that, I was like, oh shit, I do that. I don't hit delete though. But maybe that's the step. That's the first step, right? I get it out and then hit delete. Because I do find myself doing that at work with emails, sometimes to people I report to. I will go ahead and get it out, and then I'll delete the email because I've gotten all my thoughts out, and then I can think clearly as to, I can't change this situation, but what can I do to maybe make it better and present a better solution? And maybe I need to start treating my personal life the same way I take the methodical approach to my professional life. So I want to thank all of you panelists. Thank you all for joining me on this live chat tonight. Thank you for coming and welcoming back Roll the Dice with Dave. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know if this is going to lead to more conversations. I know if it does, I will be reaching out to each of you, because each of you have opened something in me that I didn't realize was there and that needed to be open. So I appreciate you for that, and thank you very much. So until next time, whenever next time may be, I want people to keep rolling the dice and taking that chance. Taking the chance and asking yourself the tough questions, but more importantly, listen to the answers that you may not want to hear, because that's where the solution may lie. That's where your self-improvement may be coming from. It may be coming from a place that you did not expect. I know for me, I did not expect to look at how can I cool things down by talking to two former students at Farah Gahi and Chef Jordan Walker, and an old dear friend, somebody I admired since I was in high school, Madam President of Manhattan Center class of 1991, Ayana Cabrera Cook. So thank you all for what you've given me. Hopefully all of you can get the same things. So I wish you all a good night, but better yet, I wish you all a good life.